I don't think I'm familiar with you other than maybe some of the online stuff I've seen.
Sure.
But yeah, just let me know how your journey has been in Wu-Sabat. How you came into Wu-Sabat and yeah, what it's been
Okay.
like. Yeah.
Yeah, man. My journey has been, I'm sure each of us can say that our journey has been quite um maybe sometimes tumultuous experience, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, the way that I got into Wu Sabat or Wu Nawab at the time, it was a very, very confusing time in my life. I can recall just feeling incredibly confused and conflicted within.
Mm.
I was raised as a Christian, and the Bible was everything that I knew. And I just got to a point where I was questioning everything. I started reading and studying the Bible a lot more heavily. I even took my Shahada to become a Muslim because the Bible wasn't giving me enough answers.
Right.
Once I took my Shahada to become a Muslim, I started reading the Quran, and it just made me feel even worse. So then I dived in a little bit into the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, and nothing really, nothing made me feel right within. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So there happened to have been a brother who lived down the hall from me, like on the same floor as me, down the hall. I always noticed that he wore certain symbols, he carried himself a certain way, and something inside of me was telling me like, yo, that's the person that you need to speak to. You need to ask him what it is that he's into.
Right.
And for some reason, at this specific point in time in my life, he was nowhere to be found. You know what I mean? Like I just had no idea where he was at. So I'm
Right.
going through all of this trouble, this troublesome experience. This heavy feeling was on me until I finally run into him after like months. And I'm like, yo, I've been meaning to talk to you, man. What is it that you do? What do you believe? What is it that you're into?
Right.
So then he introduced me to the master teacher, Dr. Malachi York. And from that moment on, man, it's like a whole world opened up to me. My first scroll was actually Inky as creator.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
me reading that scroll, it's like it answered some questions that I didn't even know I had, but then it left me with even more questions. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that sent me off on my journey, and I've been holding on to the rope ever since.
All right. And what
Yeah.
what time period was this that you were searching and
Yeah.
when you met this brother? Like,
My brother, this was around the year maybe like 2011 to early
okay.
2012. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
so this was around the time I had like just turned 20 years old, as a matter of fact. So
Wow.
I'm just coming off of 19, just turned 20 years old, and I'm having all of these confusing thoughts, and you know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just a very troublesome time in my life. And man, like I can't. So what we do is something that's very, very important. And what the master does for us is I can't put into words. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because when you finally find the truth, it's like you've been searching for it your whole life.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then you finally find it, it's just another feeling, you know?
Yeah. It's amazing because obviously for listeners and newcomers, it's
Hmm.
important for us to share our experience because it's the same for pretty much most of us. Like when you're searching and you go through the different, like you say, different kind of like denominations in terms of religion, but you don't get your questions answered. And then, as you
Hmm.
say, the moment you come across Wu-Sabat, we explain it as having a DNA explosion, right? And that
Absolutely.
first book or that first encounter with the master teacher just sets you off. And as you say, I think it's so important to let people know that you can't actually you can't make this up. It's like it's a real experience that you have, and once you get to like, okay, the truth is there, it really resonates. It's like you just can't deny it. So, for those who have never really had that experience, I guess, I mean, what would you say, like when you've spoken to other people that have come across the master teacher but never had that same experience that you had and I had and other people have had? What would you say is the reason for that, just based on your own kind of like analysis?
Man, that's a very good question. I think it it has to go back to DNA.
I
It
knew
has to.
that's the
You
answer
knew
I was
you.
looking for. I kind of knew, but I wanted to hear you say it.
It
Yeah.
has to go back to DNA, my brother, because when it's in you, it's in you. When you have those specific genetic explosions or those DNA explosions, it's not something that can be faked. You
Mm,
know, it's like you just know. The master teacher has a way of sending a specific tone out, a specific frequency out. You know, a
right.
way that I've heard a brother say it in the past is the master teacher, he had a very, very unique job. His
Mm,
job was to come to the planet and he had to find his tribe by way of his tones alone, by
mm,
way of his voice alone, you know?
yeah.
So and that's not just, it's not just necessarily the voice when it is, but it's also the way in which the master structures these words,
Mm,
you know, because the way that these words come together, we know that they invoke specific feelings, specific frequencies or vibrations within you to bring about a specific reaction. You
mm,
know, so
right.
if it's in you, these specific messages structured, coded a specific way can unlock or decode certain things within you.
Mm,
And if it's not there in the beginning, or if your DNA doesn't go back far enough, right, then there's not going to be a response for you to resonate with it,
right.
you
Right.
know?
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm not sure, but did you ever get to meet the master or be in his presence? I
And that's
mean,
one thing I've never met the master physically.
right.
You know, I've never met the master physically. However, I've met him in the spiritual or astral realm many times.
Right.
You know, and that as he says, you know, truth is always in the spiritual. You follow what I'm
Mm,
saying? So it's
absolutely.
only but a matter of time before I catch up to that and make it a physical reality, you know?
Yeah. I asked
Yeah.
because I know like the time period you said, and it's important because it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, like once you hear those tones or you come across one of those scrolls or whatever it takes for you to connect with the master, it's like regardless of whether you've met him or not, the feeling and that DNA explosion is the same. And that's really important because there are people that have been born since he was incarcerated, kidnapped, and they've never met him, but they have the same zeal and conviction, about the truth that he relays, and I think that is really important to share with people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, man, it's a very real thing. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like it's something that's so authentic. Um, I've never a person would find it strange to see the amount of dedication that a person has to a culture or a mission
mm,
or another being and never have met that being physically. You
right.
know, it's a very interesting thing because on one side, it's almost like a person can look at it as if it's religious in
Mm,
a sense. You know what I
yeah.
mean? A
Yeah.
person can look at it as if it's religious in a sense. However, you know, by way of the journey, by way of the culture, once you have your own experiences, how real it really is, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So, all right. So since you came into the community, what happened next? How did your journey lead from you speaking to the brother? He points you
Hmm.
in the direction of the master teacher, and then what
Yeah.
happens next?
So it's a funny story. So, the brother who introduced me, right? And it's no coincidence. I'm pretty sure I may be able to ask you the same question.
Sure.
Is the brother who introduced you or sister or whomever who introduced you to the doctrine or to the master teacher, are they still around?
That's a very good question. No. It's kind of interesting because okay, it was a couple, right?
Mhm.
So one of them is still around and the other one isn't. And because I had met the female first and they then introduced me to him. And this was during the Ansar days, right? When we were in the Ansar Allah community. So they're both still alive, but the brother is not involved or active in the community. And that was interesting because it was during the transition when we went into right knowledge and
Mm.
right when you know the sisters were taking off their at the time their veils, and started to wear like the Budla Nubis and but during that transition, some people couldn't accept the change that the master was making, you see, and I think it was at that point that I saw that he didn't continue in the same active way that he was prior to that.
Mm.
But the sister still has been around, and yeah, so yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of know where you're going at
Yeah.
in terms of the question because people who lead someone to the master sometimes often don't continue the journey. I guess if I'm right, that's where
Yeah.
you were going with, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And I find that to be something that's pretty common. You know,
Mm,
when I talk to different brothers and different sisters, most of the time, the person that introduced them to the master or the community, most of the times, the person that introduced them is nowhere to be found now.
right.
Um, you know, of course, due to different circumstances or what have you. But
Mm,
yeah, so just to get back to your original question, after, I was introduced to the doctrine or introduced to the master. I'm online. This is at the time when we had wunderwap.com.
right.
And, I'm online watching the updates, listening to the Let My Words Be Known all the time. I'm like, man, where's this at? Where's this at?
Mm,
And the brother lets me know, like, yeah, we got a bookstore right there on Rhode Island Avenue. And I'm like, all right, cool, bet, bet. So when we gonna go? And
right.
I'm talking to him like, when are we gonna go? Little did I know that, he was dealing with some personal things where he didn't really want to come around at the time.
Right.
But, he finally brings me around and I come in, I come in for like a question and answer class. A brother's teaching class, and that was just even more confirmation for me. Like, man, this is who I am really. I
Mm,
found it.
yeah.
And the brother who was over the bookstore, he came to me and, kind of like in a confiding sort of way, kind of like, pull me over to the side, like, hey, my man, if you're really about this here, no
Mm,
disrespect, but
mm,
if you're really about this, you're kind of gonna have to leave your man. You're gonna have to come here without him
right.
because the dude has a track record. He's built a rapport with this other brother that's introduced me, so he
Mm,
kind of knows how he gets down. So he was just giving me somewhat of a heads up.
yeah.
It was something confusing to me,
Yeah.
because this is the person that I came in with, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But he gave me sound advice, because I did my best to keep coming around, keep coming around. So then I'm around for at least months to a year and some change before, I take that next step into, the sacred, the
Hmm.
sacred side of things.
Right.
And, from there, of course is, I'm tied to this, and
Yeah.
I'm holding on to the rope. That's it,
I hear that. I hear that.
you
Um,
know.
Yeah, it's another important point because we reach millions of people, and what I keep trying to emphasize to people is that their journey is their responsibility, regardless of who brings you or how you come across Wu-Sabat or the master teacher, you've got to make sure that you are on that journey to the point where don't just wait for somebody else to kind of like give you what the jewels, because you've got to go around, you've got to go to classes, you've got to read the books, you've got to get to know people. And I've noticed that the people who do that, even in recent times, there's some people that just, they may make an application or complete a form and then they're just waiting. And then others, they just come around, they come to the classes, they get involved with the events, they start turning up, and they're in, like they just amongst family, and their journey just, whereas other people, they're just waiting for somebody else to do it for them. And I think what you just said there is just emphasizing that again. Like I know some brothers that I've only just heard about Wu-Sabat in the last maybe less than a year, but they're so
Yeah,
active, and they're
abs-
just holding onto the rope like they're not gonna let go, And then I know
ab-
others that have been around for much longer and they haven't taken that step to, yeah, get involved with the Yasar or the Musar, like, and get really involved. So anyone listening who is sitting there waiting for someone to kind of spoon feed them, you have to realize that you got, like you said, the brother said to you, if you're really about this,
yeah,
let it be known by way of your actions and not just, the speaking and the talking. So yeah, I can relate to that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think on a subconscious level, there's a connection between that, like your ability or your willingness to, I guess, to take control, right? To
Mm,
to be more hands-on, more direct in your wanting to learn. I think there's a connection between that and the religious hangups that we have mentally.
mm,
Because we've adopted this very religious mindset of just waiting. Because if your whole life is based upon you waiting for salvation or
right.
waiting for this person to come and save you, that starts to get almost wired into your DNA. It's like a
Mm,
subconscious thing that becomes natural to, even when you find it, you're still in this religious mindset. Okay, I'm gonna wait until they bring me along. Like,
right.
nah, this is something that has to activate the deity within you. And the deity
Absolutely.
within you knows that I have to be active in this, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah,
So I
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you can't, you can, as they say, you can, I don't know, it's a horse or a donkey or whatever, that you can take it to the stream, but you cannot force it to drink. And I
to drink.
guess
Yep.
the connection has to be within you and the master, or the knowledge and the facts, the actual facts. And once you're activated, I know, like, I've known people around for 30, 40 years, and they're still holding on strong. And then you have
Hmm.
others that have let go of the rope. But of course, we know, this is another thing. We know that the master's kidnapping has had an
Mm,
impact, because it was by design, for people to be given the false narrative about him so that it would deter them. But what I also realize is that when something doesn't smell right,
absolutely.
like no matter what they say to you, if you make the connection, study for yourself, research for yourself, and read the books and read the scrolls, you just know within you, like, something fishy here.
Yeah.
But some people, like you say, going back to the waiting for somebody else to come and save them, they they seem to like replace religion with Wu-Sabat. Like they replace whatever Jesus to the master teacher, they replace the Bible to like maybe the holy tablets, and they will so they just really do a swap of what they came
Yep.
out of, thinking that's the way to do it because they still want to hold on to those old, ways. And it's like you literally can't do that because you are the deity, you are that god and goddess that, the master is raising to make you know. So I find that interesting as well, that the people who they just replace everything in religion and
Yeah.
try to have an equivalent within Wu-Sabat when it doesn't work that way. Yeah.
It doesn't work. That's yeah, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
So
So, I mean, is there anything in particular that you may want to ask me or, anything we can share for the benefit of the listening audience? Feel free. And I'm sure I'll have some more questions for you too.
absolutely good, brother. One thing that I wanted to dialogue about
Mm,
was, like extraterrestrials, right?
right.
Aliens or what have you.
Yeah.
Uh, what it's becoming more and more popular, the topic of extraterrestrials, aliens, other planets, even
Right.
other dimensions, etc.
Mm,
Um, however, it's always the attention is always placed outside
mm,
and not really based on our extraterrestrial origins or
yeah.
our extraterrestrial connections. Even as far as the being that's within the skin suit, the being that's within the body, our
Right.
soul comes from other parts of the or different galaxies, as a matter of fact. Us
Right.
specifically from Orion, right?
Mm, mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people on the internet, mostly when they're looking for aliens, they look outside, which of course we know that aliens are, or extraterrestrials are extra to terra from the astrals.
Yeah.
However, there's aliens here amongst us.
Mm,
Not even just in terms of the ones that are disguising themselves, but in terms of our DNA comes from beyond the stars,
right.
a lot of times us as a people, we don't realize how, I guess we could say, I don't want to use the word amazing, quote unquote, but we've been taught to limit ourselves so much through so
Mm,
many different things, whether it be religion, whether it be things like slave trade, Jim Crow, whatever us as a people have gone through, we don't
yeah.
really recognize who and what we are beyond just being mortals. You follow?
Right.
So I think that's something that we can precisely start to address,
Mm,
you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you're right. Because going back to the same kind of mindset of somebody making you feel inferior, as you touched on the slave kidnapping and
Mhm.
the whole whitewashing of what you look to as great, because remember that image that was given to you or to us as the Negroid race of a savior or God, it's like it's in the image and likeness of the Adamites or the
Hmm.
European or the Caucasian. And
Hmm.
so as you grow up, you're, through the churches, the mosque, etc., you're programmed to look externally for the greatness, or as you say, this deity that is so powerful because they start off teaching you that he created everything and he's so
Right.
powerful and he's in this place called heaven that's just so far away, they make everything so far away. And when you go into society, whether it's through school, the educational system, the images that you see are not of yourself. And even
Hmm.
when you go out into the workplace, the companies or, whatever establishments, they normally, well, in the past anyway, were run by or controlled by other than self and kind. So you
Hmm.
just live in a world where you're made to feel inferior. But then when you start to look at, this is how you know, you start to look at the achievements in whatever endeavor, whether it's sports, music, the whole entertainment
Hmm.
industry,
Right.
we excel. I mean,
Hmm.
like it's everything, but they will try to suppress the intelligence or the areas where people are successful in terms of
Hmm.
having economics, and
Right.
those of us that are pushed to the forefront in terms of what they see as success are
Hmm.
normally going to be your musicians, your rappers,
Hmm.
your sports personalities. So it's almost like the basketball players and soccer players and whatever. It's just like, so we only seem to be, or entertainment, of course, the comedians.
Absolutely.
And so the movies, we are portrayed to just be violent, negative, or just like entertaining people. Everything's a joke. So that way,
Hmm.
people don't really take us seriously, and we then don't take ourselves seriously. So you're right
Hmm.
that when you start to look at the comparison between God and his son,
Right.
whether it's
Right.
Jesus or whoever, who is supposed to be the most powerful, intelligent, etc., people don't see him as an alien.
Yeah.
They just see him like this guy with a
Hmm.
white beard sitting on a
Right.
throne in some place called heaven. Until you
Right.
start to go, but what makes somebody an alien or an extraterrestrial? Then they'll
Hmm.
tell you, something from outside of the planet. And then you
Exactly.
start to ask, okay, well, if that's the case, which part of you is from outside of the planet? Because the
Right.
physical you, they tell you, is from the ground.
From the ground.
So,
Hmm.
so yes. So now, when you establish that God is an extraterrestrial, and then you establish that we come from somewhere else by way of our soul,
Hmm.
then you start to see why we're so amazing in everything that we do. But I think
Right.
you've got to make that connection internally with the inner you, the inner being that extraterrestrial, and
Hmm.
why we're so amazing, why people can't, with whatever they've done to try and suppress us, eliminate us, no matter what, we still rise, and we still continue to rise. No, nobody can say they've gone through the same level of suppression. You know,
Hmm.
we've been through it all, but yet we still smile.
Oh,
We still
yeah.
smile, and we're still able to, what I mean, like love other people and care about everyone. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the way you know that you're definitely you're definitely not from here. And of course, then we
Yeah.
start to look at our ancestors, as in the
Hmm.
Panatharu.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I think, like you say, when you go to the media and the movies, they portray extraterrestrials and aliens in every shape, form other than us, which is
Other than
also
us.
very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would rather make aliens like, little green men. They show the
Hmm.
Greys. They even show the Pleiadians, the Ashtar Command,
Yeah.
and they show now the Anunnaki. But before, they didn't really
Yeah.
tell you what Anunnaki looked like. They just
Hmm.
spoke about them. But you go and look on the walls and look on the tablets, you start to see that they also brown skinned beings with, nappy hair and so forth. So
Yeah.
now everyone's talking about the Anunnaki. And then
Hmm.
we as Sabians now, Nuwapians, we're like, okay, you don't know about the Natharu. And so now it's
Right.
for us to let them know that we are those gods. Then, they go to Egypt and they look at the pharaohs and they go, these great Egyptian gods. But then
Yeah.
you look at them, they look like us. They have the big lips,
Yeah.
the big nose. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
no longer a secret, and they can't hide it anymore that we are the real extraterrestrials that were here first, and it's going to become more and more commonplace. And we
Yeah.
have Parnabab Yanun amongst us, the alien that is
Absolutely.
able to do and give us this knowledge of self. And so it's a beautiful day and time we're living in. We just got to get
Yeah.
Baba home, and let the world know of who we are. But yeah, that's what I see and take on what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And towel hat for that, my good brother. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
It speaks a lot to who and what we are and the reason why they have these tactics. They make sure that they control all of these different sectors of the media because we know that we're always receiving something, and what we receive we can assimilate,
Mm,
and it can affect us. We know about us having the 76% of DNA that they call junk DNA, right?
right.
But the master teacher has outformed us that this 76% is not junk DNA, but satellite
That's
DNA.
right. That's right.
And
Yeah,
satellites transmit and receive. So
absolutely.
it's a reason why they make sure that what we're receiving or what we're seeing and talking about aliens doesn't look like us, because
Mm,
there'll be something that we're starting to assimilate and then start to under and then overstand, like, hold up, wait a minute. So I also see, the master teacher is very strategic in the way he does things, how he gives us the pictures of these beings, because
right.
now we're starting to make this connection, and then we're able to actually not only raise our mentality in terms of how we see ourselves, but also recognize that, okay, these beings that are great, that are amazing, are looking like me and you.
Hmm.
So subconsciously I accept that I have the ability to reach these specific heights now. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
and they make for certain to always put their image as great, and
Mm,
our image as the people that are shucking and jiving and telling jokes and can only
right.
dunk a ball or pass a football. You know what I mean? So
Right. Yeah.
it's an amazing, we're at an amazing day and time, as the master teacher teaches us, the son of righteousness has arisen with healing in his wings.
Absolutely. And the beauty about being, it's not even like we're just trying to be like, oh, putting everybody else down. It's because it's
Right,
never been that for us, you know.
right,
We've always been able to accommodate, embrace, and share what we have with other people. And that's
right.
part of the reason why, we ended up being tricked because it's not in our nature, you know? And so even when people are hating on us, we still, because
Right.
we're loving people. A God will only be like the way they teach in religion anyway, that God is good, the devil's bad. So
Hmm.
if we are representing God, then we're gonna do good. We're gonna be good. We don't go around trying to subjugate other people, kidnap other people, take over their lands, you know,
Right,
warring. I mean, in the history of the world, if you look at
right.
who's been able to maintain, regardless of whatever conditions we've faced, we just don't do that. We just want to be by ourselves and live our culture. But for some
Hmm.
reason, it's like people fear us. They fear us even
Hmm.
though we don't have no missiles and weapons of
Yeah.
mass destruction. We don't have these things, you know? So
Right.
it's interesting because how you fear somebody to the extent where you want to be able to like just erase them completely in terms of not knowing where they come from, what language
Hmm.
they spoke, changing their names, putting
Hmm.
them in a different environment. I mean, just look at what happened through the so-called slave trade, which we know there
Right.
was no trading involved. It was just
Right.
kidnapping, you know.
Absolutely.
But I say that to say that we know that when you evolve and you raise your vibration and your consciousness above the people, places, and things, and the low vibrations that create these things like divisions, religions, fighting over territory and fighting over who's right and who's wrong and
Yeah.
fighting over the color of your skin and fighting over resources. That's not something that we do. And
Right.
we're welcoming to everyone. And I think natural nature has
Hmm.
decided that it's extinction time for the beings
Oh
that are
yeah.
causing this type of chaos on the planet. So we ain't even got to do anything because you see them doing it to themselves. They're causing the chaos and the destruction. And so
Yeah.
we just got to like focus on remembering who we are because the doctrine is a remembering tool. Like it's
Absolutely.
already encoded in our DNA. Like you said, that 76% that they talk about, they don't
Hmm.
really know much about because the more they try to find out and research and dig
Hmm.
to the who was here first, you know, who did the most amazing things on the planet. You know, the DNA speaks for itself. You know, they dig up. We don't go to Europe and go to other places and dig up, you know, the remains of their
Yeah.
ancestors and just to
Yeah.
test and say, you know, who are these people? Why did they do such great things? They do that with us. And
Absolutely.
you know, it's like literally disrespectful and desecrating somebody's resting place just
Hmm.
for trying to find out. But obviously, we also know that it was by design so that they will uncover and take the DNA to realize who the
Absolutely.
real gods really are. You know, so
Yeah.
yes, beautiful day and time we're living in,
Beautiful. Beautiful, man.
and the sun cycle coming in, the dimensional shift. It's naturally occurring, and like I said, when it's extinction time, there's nothing anybody can do about it. You know, because
Hmm.
nature dictates. You know, like you had polar bears, and you know you had
Yeah.
other dinosaurs and other, you know, that have gone. They've just
Yeah.
disappeared,
Yeah.
and it will be the same for, you know, for this period for those who don't learn to live as the gods have taught them to live, which is in peace, love, and unity and harmony.
Hmm.
And you look upon the Babyanun, that's all he's ever done and shown us, you see.
That's
So,
facts.
so it's very ironic how those that are causing him this suffering and everything,
Hmm.
it's this, yeah, this the whole God and devil thing. Who's God on the planet and who's the devil on the planet? Just
Yeah.
looking by the actions and the results.
It becomes very, very clear if we're just judging it based on actions, results, if we're judging it on history, evidence, experience,
And
and reason.
reason, right?
So us as a people, we're really just victims of bad marketing. If we just distill
Yeah.
it down to its finest point, we're victims of bad marketing or great marketing on
Mm.
their side. You know,
Yeah.
they've done their job in terms of painting this certain picture of us to everybody else to the point that other races may even look at us as if we're demonic, as if we're thugs, as if we're nothing. We're only good for entertainment. We're not intelligent. That's all by way of media. But
Right.
again, we know that we're taught to break down these words, right? When we say media, we're just saying medium. You know,
Mm.
they've just become the mediums for some forces to get communicated from one side to the other. You know what I
Right.
mean? So they've just set up this huge system of a medium of six ether spirit forces being able to be projected to other people's thoughts, minds, mentalities about us.
Right.
So us as a people, now we have this unique opportunity to flip the narrative in a sense because we already have natural nature on our side. When we look at history, when we look at evidence, if we look at what people have experienced, we know that people have experienced the heights of kindness from people that look like you and me. You know what I mean? The
Absolutely.
heights of joy, the heights of everything good they've experienced when they've encountered us. But if
Right.
we look at a group of people, another race, if we look at the heights of despair, terrorism that they've experienced, it comes by way of a certain group of people. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
It comes by way of the people that are opposite of us. So if we're really comparing things literally, then we have to say that these beings that are responsible for nothing but kindness, acceptance, you know what I mean, freedom, they have to be the closest to God on the planet. And
Right.
these beings that are responsible for nothing but raping, stealing, terrorism, polluting the air, polluting the water, killing
Mm.
for fun, we have to equate that to a devil.
Right.
It's just
And
reaching out.
100%. But you said something very important, which is that the media, because the media is this is why we have to rewrite our story because
Yeah,
we've been going by history or his story,
absolutely.
and everyone else tries to tell us about who we are. They name us.
Hmm.
They gave us names based on where we're at. Took away our language, took away our culture, our dress. So if you look at us today as Sabians or Nuwapians, we are the only ones that are original in our dress,
Absolutely.
in our language, something as simple as that, because with the culture, you have a language, you have
Hmm.
your own music, you have your own tones, you have your own vibrations and frequency. And when we look at the media that's not controlled by us, it's often depicting us, as you say, at the lowest of the lowest. Even in the entertainment industry, the movie industry, even when
Hmm.
people like what's his name, the movie, the brother that made Jungle Fever and
Spike Lee.
Spike Lee, thank you. Even when we are let in that industry, the stories that we say and relay about us, if you really look at them,
Exactly.
they're not very positive. I mean, it's
Exactly.
it's great that you get through and you get given a lot, some money and thing, but
Hmm.
then you produce these movies that are still showing us in a negative light. We
Yeah.
can even look at even what's his name, the one that did Big Mama and all that. Sorry, the names are just escaping me.
You talking about Martin
Tyler
Lawrence?
Perry, Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry. Oh,
Yeah.
Tyler.
Again, you look at the stories
Yeah.
and the movies that he's
Yeah.
making, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, if you don't represent us, you're gonna have to reckon with the Natharu, the overseers,
Yeah.
the elders, the deities, because it's a day and time where the truth has to be told, and
Yeah.
you know, you can't tell a full story about who we are and think that it's okay in this day and time. Even,
Hmm.
rappers that, they talk about gang banging or, all these negative things, all that stuff's got to go. And we have to
Hmm.
rewrite our story because no one else is going to be able to do it and no one can tell us, you know, about us. We have to tell the world now about us. So Partner
Right.
Babianun came on the scene saying, look, it's time to wake up. Sleeping gods, you've got to wake up now. You've got to
Hmm.
remember who you are. And you're great people. You come from a great heritage, a great culture. You guys built the pyramids. You shared your knowledge with everybody else on the planet. You're
Hmm.
the best dancers, best sports people, but best everything. Like,
Right.
so I think a young person now being born into the culture of Wu-Sabat and learning and living their culture from day one is definitely the future. And even just things like your health, dealing with genetic kiss and dealing with, how we keep our genetics pure going forward.
Hmm.
The scrolls like the lotus of life, Parna Babyanun, the sacred on sacred feminine. These are things that no one else has been able to give us genetic kiss so that we can actually start to, build on the foundation that we have. And it may not be straight away in terms of it may take generations, but we're
Right.
rewriting our story. And the young people in our tribes and our nation and our family now are able to, yeah, from day one, be
Yeah.
themselves and be who they are. And when they see
Yeah.
us, they know, these people are not your average, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
stereotype person that you see on the
Yeah.
news and in the media and so on. They know when we speak, you speak with authority, we speak with actual facts, and we back it up by evidence and, reasoning. So yeah, we're definitely in a different day and time, and Wu-Sabat is spreading. The master teacher has done a fantastic job, and it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful when I can now have these types of conversation with,
Mm.
different family and just share our experience and let everyone know that, yeah, we're here. And we
Yeah.
and we ain't going nowhere.
And we ain't going nowhere. We just growing. We
That's
just
right.
growing.
Absolutely.
It's
Actual facts. Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's a
So
beautiful thing.
yeah, what's your kind of like area of expertise in
In
terms
terms
of
of,
like what do you see your future in terms of like do you um I don't want to say your job or work because as
mhm.
Nuapian we're trying to like build and
Yeah,
have our
yeah,
own
profession.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, right now at the moment, well, I'm an entrepreneur, first of all.
Tour.
It's funny because when I first came into the doctrine, I was under the tutelage of a brother who happened to have been around since the Ansar days. So when I came in, not having, a necessary means of income, he taught me like, well, okay, well, we did in the day, we pedaled, we hit the streets and pedaled. So
Right.
that's how my roots was planted. You know what I mean? I
Right.
started out peddling, selling books, propagating every day incense, oils, et cetera, et cetera. And I've always stuck to along those lines of entrepreneurship.
Right.
So as of right now, I have a cryptocurrency community that I'm building, and I do cryptocurrency asset management as well
Right.
as instructing. I have a course that I'm building, and
Okay.
also, we also have a solar brokerage company, and of course, whenever I approach business or profession, I always approach it from the aspect of it being a Sabian business. You know what I mean? A Sabian foundation,
Right.
where the end goal is for us to be in a position where we're providing, not necessarily just providing a service, but we ourselves have something that other Sabians can get into if they want to work. We got to get out. We got to get out of the position that we're in of going to other than self and kind for a job or for a means
Right.
of income. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. So solar brokerage business. I'm also a musician, and
Okay.
I'm an all around entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So the way
That's
that where I see, yeah, I feel like that's kind of in the same vein of the question.
mm-hmm.
Um, where I see myself going, of course, building more Sabian businesses, empires, etc. I
Right.
actually, was speaking with the brother Asar, I think that's his name,
Tour.
and he let me know that you're also into cryptocurrency as well.
Tour.
And
Yeah.
at some point, I really, really want to build with you, dialogue with you, because I have some great ideas. I think that would be great for us as a nation in
Right.
terms of in this space.
Mm-hmm.
So my at least part of my vision is noticing the master has taught us or prophesied that there's going to come to a point where they switch to a completely cashless society. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean?
Yeah.
And everything will be digital money. We're seeing the writings on the walls with the mass adoption of cryptocurrency
Mm-hmm.
globally.
Right.
One thing that they make sure of, they make sure that our people are the last ones to learn,
Mm.
especially when it comes to finances, financial literacy. They make sure that our people are the last ones that get the information.
Right.
So I think right now with this new financial system blossoming, we have the potential to actually get ahead of the game and at least, inform our people, let them make the right decisions, let
Mm-hmm.
them decide for themselves. But when we put ourselves in a position to be able to teach and even guide people in some of these things, it helps demystify a lot of these things. The way that they like to coin and phrase and even market things, they want to make stuff very, very confusing.
Mm.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the way that they always do. So, the way that melanated beings learn, Nubians and Wapians, the way that we learn, we can take anything and teach it to somebody and make it feel simple. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Because we've mastered those things about teaching.
Mm.
So I think if we put ourselves in a position to learn this thing before, and pretty much kind of get out ahead of it, we can help a lot of our people over that learning curve, you know?
Right.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
You're right. I mean, as you know, doing for self is something that, the master has always taught. And that's great to know that, we are, as we were saying at the beginning when we're dealing with intelligence, we're going to get out of the habit of only thinking on a very low level in terms of business. Like when we deal with business, a lot of the times we kind of like focus on food shops, barber shops,
hmm
hairdressers, and it's like,
right.
yeah, when it comes to technology, we tend to I guess is by design because anything technical or something that seems mathematical or a little bit more in terms of you applying yourself, we seem to not just gravitate to. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
great to know that you're in that field and yeah, we can definitely build on that and yeah, because what happens is that if things get saturated and then we get into it, we kind of go into
exactly.
it when it's already been exploited. But yeah,
hmm
with the new technologies, it's something that we could it's leveraging the playing field for everyone, once you
Absolutely.
apply yourself and know what you're doing is and now with AI it's even much more kind of
Yeah.
like accessible, so yeah,
hmm
that's great to know that you're in that field and so am I. And of course, music is important as well because of the tones, the vibration, the frequencies.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and that's one thing that the master always emphasizes that everyone should at least learn, a musical
hmm
instrument or even
Yeah.
use your voice. Your voice is an instrument. So yeah, it's great to know that we are now starting to not just in business, but in terms of creativity as well. We've got to rewrite a lot of music and the songs using our own tones
Yeah.
and the vibrations are more conducive to our being. But it's good
Absolutely.
because when people talk about us as Sabians or Nuwapians, it's important for them to know we're professionals in every field as well. Because sometimes
Absolutely.
they just think, oh, we ain't got that religious mindset where we just like just talk about religion all the time or just like read books and we are actually professionals in every field you can think of, so
hmm
it's important to let people know like, yeah, we're into these types of things like, the digital currencies and
hmm
crypto and yeah, the emerging technologies and all the new things, the AI, these are things that, if you go back and look at the Man from Planet Risk book or even just the Nataru, like the Nataru,
hmm
they just like they're very advanced. So technology is something
Absolutely.
that comes with our DNA, so we definitely have to capitalize on that as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. What's something that's interesting that I found was what they call it the age of Aquarius, right?
Mm,
Or the Aquarian age. And we know for the age of Aquarius to be actually the age of Ptah, the
mm,
opener.
right.
When we read one of the older scrolls, I want to say it's ancient Egypt and the pharaohs.
Yeah.
Baba Yanun explains that Ptah is the deity, or the word he might have used may have been God, but he says the deity of technology.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's no coincidence that we're seeing this technological age start to take effect, and we're in the age of Ptah, the opener. It would
Right.
be remiss or amiss for us to not take advantage of, of the technology that's coming out, or even matter of fact, pioneer a lot of these things.
Oh
Us
yeah,
as a people,
absolutely.
especially,
Yeah.
So I think that's also one of the reasons, or partly the reason why they always depict us a specific way.
Mm,
They always depict us in the way of we're either the people that are very brawny in terms of we want to be all into sports, we want to be comedians, we want to be basketball players, et cetera, et cetera. But they don't really show us using the power of our mind, of our mental. Because once they start doing that and we actually apply ourselves mentally, we'll see that we're leaps and bounds ahead of anybody else when we just start
Absolutely.
applying ourselves, you know?
Right.
So th- they make it so that there's such a I want to say the word that they use is there's like a it's like a for lack of a better words, I'll say interest fee, right?
Mm.
It's like with anything they make sure before you get into it, they make it seem very, very, very intimidating. You know what I
Right.
mean? They
Exactly.
so that way it kind of scares you off from even going anywhere in that realm. And
Right.
cryptocurrency and all of these other technologies is no different. They want
That's
to
right.
make sure that they propagate it or market it to the point where it looks so intimidating and scary, and then like you know what I
That's
mean?
right. That's right. And and again, in the Man from Planet Risk and even Shambhala and Agatha, the book, you know, the master was explaining that even the word Macintosh, as you know, right, comes from the
Hmm.
computer called Mech, which
Right, right,
was actually from our ancestors.
right.
And as you're explaining, it's so true because they make something so complicated when they teach it. Like I was saying about,
Hmm.
maths at school, when you see the equations and you see the algebra, you just think, oh, it's too much. But it is about the mind, it's about the mental, because once you have shown that you've mastered and you are advanced in like sports, music, and everything else, the last
Hmm.
frontier is the mind, right?
Yeah.
And all the tech companies, if you look at, in the last, decade or so, like all the companies like your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google, these are all the richest people in the world, even, Amazon and all of this. And it's all based on technologies, So,
Yep.
yeah, we have to definitely help and educate. But even that, it's not being, they're not able to hide it because there are brothers in Africa that are inventing things. There's a brother, as you know, that has invented how to, like have TVs and electric
Hmm.
cars, like just running off of radio waves.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's another brother that is turning is making fuel out of recycling plastics. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so much going on, even on that level, that, of course, it's not as promoted in the mainstream media, but YouTube and social media is helping
Hmm.
to bring these brothers out. So, yeah, you're
Hmm.
gonna definitely see more and more innovation from Africans and in the diaspora and all over the world, because now we recognize that we're more than sports stars and entertainment stars. We're starting to
Hmm.
step into that arena now of innovation and coming out with technologies that are going to help the world. And I remember back in the day, Pa in the Bible was saying things like, because he wrote books like the Millennium Books, the year
Right.
2000, What to Expect,
Right.
and all of these, The Man from Planet Risk, of course, all of these books, he was saying in the future, you're going to be doing banking from your computer. And he
Yeah.
was saying things like, there's a poster of the lamb, the one where he's holding the menorah, the seven candlesticks
Hmm.
with the sash, the golden sash, which is the
Hmm.
description of the being known as Michael or Michael, or the various names that religious people refer to him as. And in that poster, this was before the internet, right? It said, all eyes shall behold, right? This being.
Hmm.
I remember reading that poster over and over again. I'm going to try and find it. And I
Yeah.
used to think, how is because I literally took every word he said. Like, I know
Yeah,
when he says it, it's going to happen.
yeah.
So it was like I was thinking, how would all eyes behold him, like around the
Mm,
world? But then obviously the internet came and YouTube came and now social media.
yeah,
So I was like, oh, so he was that ahead of time, even then, telling us what, was coming. And when we say, he's from our future back, coming back to our
hmm,
past and to help us prepare for what's coming, people take it for granted. But when you start to look at these books I mentioned and read them, you see how
hmm.
far ahead he was, in terms of telling us things that, yeah, we're like 30, 40 years ahead of time, and now we're living in that time, you see. So,
Yeah, that's very
yes, it's great. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
it's beautiful. Yeah, anything else you want to talk about before we round off?
Um, I let me look at into my notes, good brother.
No problem, man. I mean, we can always do this again. It's not like, it has to
Hey,
be
yeah, 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 absolutely. That's
one
that's
time.
that's very true.
Yeah.
So I would, yeah, we if there's nothing else that you have, good brother,
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, I hear you, man, in terms of the entrepreneurship, the building. That's what it's really about now. I think getting Wu-Sabat out to the world, clearing the
yeah,
master teacher's name in terms of, the false allegations, false narratives, false hearsay
absolutely.
that goes around, yeah, I mean, and of course he's coming home and
He's coming home
we
very
got to be
soon.
prepared. Yeah, he's coming home very
Yeah,
soon, very soon. I feel it. And
yeah,
it's going to be a very beautiful moment to behold, So, yeah, just keep doing
absolutely.
what you're doing, good brother. It's a pleasure to speak with you. I want to meet and speak to more family around the world because, of course, without Tamaray, we're
Yeah,
dispersed all around. So we got to stay
hmm,
in tune using the technology. So yeah,
absolutely.
it's beautiful, and I
Yeah.
appreciate love you for coming on the platform. I'm sure.
I
Yeah.
appreciate love you too.
All right.
You're the second person I heard use that, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate love.
I picked
Yeah,
that
yeah,
up because someone I was speaking to a Rastafarian and they didn't like that word when you say appreciate because the
yeah.
way they speak, obviously with the accent, is like hate. So the brother was like,
Hey,
we don't
appreciate
deal with
love.
hate, we deal with love. So I said, all right,
Love.
cool. So we appreciate love. I said, all right, cool, not hate.
That's Yeah, that's a wonderful
Yeah.
thing. That's a
All right.
wonderful thing, my brother.
Nice
Yeah,
one.
I appreciate love you too, my brother.
All
And
right.
thank you for having me, man. Thank you for having
Pleasure.
me.
Pleasure.
It was the pleasure is mine, man. And continue the great work that you're continuing to do.
Thank you.
Um,
Likewise, you. And
yeah, man.
yeah,
I'm
I
a little
shook.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shook, good brother. I shook. I was a little bit nervous, you know what I mean? But again, it's just talking to a brother, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
all it is. And
yeah, man.
yeah, like I said, everyone brings a particular type of
Hmm.
energy, experience, and they share that, and you never know who you're gonna reach by just having this conversation. So it's
That's
great
very
that we
real.
we need to bring different energies so people get to see that Wu Sabat is truly wonderful. And so, as a master teacher, and I've enjoyed speaking with you thoroughly. So until the next time, I
Until
shook
the next time, good brother.
Wu Wadu Zama.
I shook. Woo, I do.